God is calling you out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Your season there is over, so he's wanting you to uproot, and you're going to go plant in another field. There's another field that's getting ready to harvest, and he needs you there.
You want to bloom where you're planted. Just make sure where you're planting is the right soil.
The right soil.
So you don't have to keep uprooting, because if you keep picking the bad soil, then you got to look at yourself first and say, why do I keep choosing bad soil?
Right. Hey everyone, I'm Stephenie.
And I'm Asbel.
And we want to welcome you to another episode on A Cup of Real. And it's been a while since we've been in the studio.
Yeah, it has been. We've been traveling a lot.
Yeah, it's been a busy summer.
Yeah, busy.
But today, I want to talk around the topic around blooming. You know, there's that quote that we both have quoted, we hear all the time, bloom where you're planted.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes you cannot bloom where you're planted for various reasons, and we're going to kind of unpack that today.
Yeah, because sometimes the soil's bad.
Yep, and that's what we're going to talk about.
You can't bloom where the soil's bad.
That's right. But I want to give a little story, and I was telling you this a few weeks ago, and I thought, you know what, this is such a great analogy for this. When we were living in Louisiana, behind our house, we had like a courtyard type park.
Oh, yeah.
Yard. It was beautiful, quaint. Right. And we had that little fountain. And we had some beautiful flowers, plants, but one of those flowers, I think they're called spillers maybe, cascading flowers, and they were hot pink, and they were luscious looking, they were perky, they were blooming, they were flourishing, they were beautiful. All of a sudden, I noticed it first, they became wilted, and they weren't as perky, and it started getting worse. And I was telling you, so you gave it, we watered it, made sure it was getting enough water, but you gave it some food, some nutrition. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so nothing was helping at all. I mean, nothing was fixing this problem. And I was so bummed because they were beautiful. They were huge cascading flowers. And so finally, one of us, I can't remember, we said, why don't we move it to a different location? You know, maybe try that. Maybe it just needs to get out of the sun. Maybe it needs sun. I can't remember the exact thing, but we moved it. We didn't change anything. We continued to feed it nutrition, water it. Within 24 hours, I got a message out of it, 2017. I found the notes. It was blooming and flourishing. And I remember thinking, that's like our own lives. This is 2017.
It was just in the wrong location. It was in the wrong soil. It was inhibiting the roots. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember if somebody told me to do that or I was researching online.
I think you probably were researching.
It was one or the other because I was doing something. I'm like thinking there's got to be something going on because we've done everything else. And then it was like something about maybe it's in the wrong soil. The roots, they expand pretty quickly. And if it's a root structure, it might be that problem. So take it up and replant it into a different area. And I'm like, well, what are you going to lose? Well, let's try it and see. And we did. And it was amazing what happened.
It was.
We had put it in the wrong area.
Yes. And we've done that since that particular event. We've done that now here in Texas. We've had to do that.
Same thing, because what happens is it's like, oh, it's wonderful. All of a sudden, the sun's scorching it. It should not be in this. It's got to be more partial. And so now I move things around. Like I'm like thinking, okay, that pot shouldn't, especially like pot. Okay, that pot's getting too much sun or not enough. And you move it around. All of a sudden, things start happening. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So it's the same way with our lives. So let's bring it down to our lives. And you talked about the soil, and I did write down a few things here. There are times that the soil is bad.
Well, the Bible talks about that. You know, there's the parable of the soil and what you sow. Mm-hmm. And how if you sow into good soil, into thorny soil. And so I look at that, even though that parable was talking about something distinctly different, I use this a lot for investment principles and like how I'm like putting money into something. That are you being a good steward and are you sowing into good soil? Meaning, and good soil could be anything. Right. It could be a business. It could be an investment. It could be a nonprofit. Yeah. And there are some people that are thinking, well, I'm not, because you're not sowing into good soil. Right. Sometimes it's thorny soil, so it looks like a good investment. You throw it up, like this is what I think about cryptocurrency. Like that's thorny soil. Like, oh, good, boom, it popped up, and then all of a sudden things get choked out, and it wasn't a good investment. Yeah. We do a lot of that, and we think because we're not paying attention to that, but literally everything in the Bible is teaching us something.
The principles.
The principle is teaching you something.
reaping, sowing.
Reaping and sowing.
And you and I have made decisions based on that before about we don't feel like it's good soil. We have said those words, it's not good soil. We are not investing in
And I don't apologize for it. I just make a decision. I don't let somebody twist my arm, condemn me from whatever platform that they're on. I don't feel like it's good soil. I'm not sowing into it.
Now, another reason why you need to sometimes uproot is because God is calling you out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Your season there is over, so He's wanting you to uproot, and you're going to go plant in another field. There's another field that's getting ready to harvest, and He needs you there. So that's another reason why sometimes we got to uproot and replant.
And here's the thing too that you and I are not advocating for, because there are some people that are going to say, "See, I told you, I'm going to just keep uprooting and planting, uprooting and planting." We're not talking about, because then there's usually a common. If you're constantly having to uproot and plant,
and there's always
uproot
a problem
and plant, there is a common denominator, and it's probably you. Because then I would start thinking, why are you having a problem identifying good soil?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you're constantly moving, constantly doing other things that because you're never satisfied or this soil, you probably need to look and reflect in the mirror first and think, why do I keep picking the wrong soil?
The wrong job, the wrong church, the wrong marriage.
Whatever it is at this point in time, there is a common denominator here.
Investments.
Yeah, and so those are things that we had to look at. Like, because I moved so many times. I talk about this in my book.
Yeah.
And I finally had to start reflecting and saying, there's a common denominator, Asbel. It's you. You're always running from a problem. It's always someone else's fault of why things are happening.
It's easy to run,
and it's very easy to do.
Yeah,
because it's very easy to misplay. But sometimes you got to look and see, maybe I am in good soil.
Right.
I'm just not potted in the right part of the good soil.
Yes.
Maybe there's something that I need to do in my life and make sure that I'm getting nutrients. And how am I watering? What am I doing?
Maybe I'm not meant to be in that department.
But then there's sometimes that is just like, okay, this is done.
This is done.
And you'll know that.
Me and you have had this several times in our lives since we've been married. We're like, okay, this season, we felt it winding down. Both of us did. We're going into a new season. It's time to uproot and go. So that does happen.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Sometimes people are constantly uprooting. Well, you got to plant somewhere.
You have to plant somewhere. A tree cannot grow large by keeping uprooting itself.
Very true.
So it's the same thing. The tree and the roots, it's the stabilization, where it grows, how close it grows to someone, how it intertwines in relationship with others. Yeah. It's amazing what God did in nature with the trees, like literally how they're connected, how there's a reason why He talks a lot about it.
Yeah, the trees are very, that analogy is mentioned so many times in the New Testament. I'm just reading.
I had a friend of mine recommend this tree on trees. He said, Asbel, you'll never, and I've read it because it's more from a scientific perspective, but because we're faith-based and we know the word and how it is the messages that I'm getting out of that, babe, I'm going to be using it in leadership and talking, because there's something about the truth, but you cannot keep uprooting a tree as well.
Yeah.
Can you do it? You'll shock the system. There's a little things that it can do. So literally you want to bloom where you're planted. Just make sure where you're planting is the right soil.
The right soil.
So you don't have to keep uprooting, because if you keep picking the bad soil, then you got to look at yourself first and say, why do I keep choosing bad soil?
Right.
Why?
And then sometimes, and you can probably speak to this, I would say sometimes when you have to uproot and replant somewhere, maybe it's in the same industry, the same church, the same organization, nonprofit, but God is protecting you from that soil.
Right. That's right.
So He's pushing you out and you're feeling uncomfortable.
Right.
But He's pushing you out to go plant somewhere else.
Right.
So you can be more influential, more impactful.
And that's okay. Yeah. Like there's nothing wrong with moving. Just make sure the reason why. Make sure the reason is not you that's doing that. That really truly is somewhere that you're being led. God is actually taking you into another season of your life. That's what you and I reflect on. What we start praying, and we start kind of beginning to know it now as we're aging, and we should be getting wiser because we've made some. I've made poor choices and decisions. They were mine. The uprooting of the soil, I wasn't meant to uproot. I was meant to stay there.
We were both runners at one time. I think, like there's things that I'm praying. There's a particular thing that I'm praying about right now, but I don't feel to uproot and run right now. Yeah. But I feel a little bit of not restlessness, just like
unsettling. Like there's an unsettling.
So I'm praying about it, and I'm like, God, I'm staying planted. Yeah. I'm not doing anything, but I feel something. What are you trying to teach me? I wish I would have known this 20 years ago, But
well, that's the point of, here's the one thing I was like, that our journey in life should be teaching us this at our age now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you're younger,
you make those decisions.
Like they always say, you're young and dumb. I mean, that's
you're
kind
impulsive.
of the funny thing. You're just impulsive. It's a whole different process. But as we get older, we should be getting wiser.
Right.
And that's why the scriptures kind of tell us that in the multitude of wise counsel.
Wise counsel,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so be looking for counsel, like understanding and reflecting. For that's what I always say. Anything that happens now, I immediately reflect first.
Yeah.
I do not go and shift the blame. I immediately begin to reflect. I don't care. It's every business decision that happens, every personal decision we're making, every emotional, relational decision. I don't care what it is. I'm immediately first reflecting.
Right.
Because I need to understand, is there something that you need to change in you first?
Right. Because it's easy
before you uproot, before you make a decision.
Yes.
Is there something causing this?
Right.
That has been the best barometer for me, babe,
yeah.
for the last 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I'm
amazing.
With you on that.
It's changed me dramatically.
I'm with you on that, because if you're always shifting blame and it's always someone, you're never going to have peace.
Yeah.
You're never going to feel like you're where you belong, because it's always one thing happens and everything falls apart. Things are going to happen.
Yeah. And there's things, too, that are outside of our understanding.
Yeah.
Shyla told me this a few weeks ago, that she had heard a message that somebody, I'm like, it stuck with me, and it still sticks with me today that I'm thinking about that. The Bible talks about the peace that passes all understanding.
Yeah, Philippians.
And for us to understand peace and the peace of who God is, sometimes you're not going to understand.
No.
Sometimes the peace is only relevant in the not understanding, and we have to be comfortable with choosing peace versus understanding. Sometimes some of you guys are in crisis, or we're in crisis, or constant conflict, or whatever, because we're trying to understand something that was not meant for us to understand.
Well, that's why it says it surpasses his
all
peace,
understanding.
Passes all understanding.
All understanding.
And we're not going to understand why a loved one died. We're not going to understand why that divorce happened. We're not going to understand why that job,
The only way I can have peace is just to let go, let God really, this is, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But I want peace.
Yeah.
And I know the peace comes in the not understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
As I was doing research on this, the whole soil planting, all of this, I want to read a few things here. I think you'll really like right here. So it says, when a cascade flower, back to the cascade flower, begins to wither, the problem may be the soil, but it may also be a lack of water, which we've talked about, too much water, stress of harsh conditions, which, yes, we know that. And in the same way, when our lives are struggling, the issue isn't always our foundation. Sometimes it's not the foundation. Sometimes it's the environment around us, the care we're receiving, the burdens we're carrying, or the seasons we're walking through. 'Cause sometimes you're walking through tough seasons. That doesn't mean you need to uproot. That doesn't mean that.
And sometimes it just means it's scorching. I'm reminded right now while you're talking that we have that wonderful ivy, that flower that's growing up the front.
Yes.
The problem is sometimes the scorching sun in the bottom hits one portion of it, and I've seen some of the
You've had
whatever,
to work
and
that.
it's like I've had to really work it, and I was reading and researching to understand you got to make sure it is very set, because the soil's good.
Right.
The problem is it's going to water out quickly, so you got to water it multiple times to make sure it's getting the water. And so sometimes that's what's happening. Sometimes the scorching, you're in good soil. I'm just telling you, I feel like sometimes the water of the word, the water of your prayer life, and so you wonder why you're withering. It's because you're focusing, thinking you're in bad soil, and you're not. What is happening is you need the water of him, of who he is.
Yes.
You got to be watering that plant more and more and more. And as I've been doing that, and I started cutting away it told me to cut away some of the burn, prune it a little bit as well. Make sure that some of the ivy it's taking more nutrients than it needs to, start cutting. And so I started clipping it away and whatever. And now it's really beginning to flourish. And the soil's good though.
Okay, this is what you're talking about. Okay, soil represents the foundation. Our values, beliefs, character, and what nourishes our hearts. Water represents encouragement, truth, love, or spiritual nourishment. Sunlight represents hope, purpose, God's presence. Roots represent our inner life and what anchors us. Right here, pruning represents growth that comes through difficult experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about the vine. It's in a difficult season because it's so hot right now.
Yeah.
So we're making sure.
And I got to keep it pruned back or whatever, so the nutrients are getting to it. And it's amazing what's happening with the vine that we've got growing right now.
So I would say the cascade flower might begin to fade, but that doesn't mean that it's lost its ability to bloom, right?
Yeah. So I think that the lesson that I'm learning in some things is sometimes the soil is bad. And you have to look at that and understand that, make sure it's not you, but sometimes the soil is good soil.
Yeah.
But the wind, the water, the sun is not being taken into account of why it's not thriving.
Yeah.
And so what that means is I had to research. I had to do some research to understand. I could have just said, it's wrong. I planted it in the bad soil. Let me uproot it and move it somewhere else.
And made it worse.
It would have killed it.
Yeah.
Something could have happened. But what I realized, it wasn't the soil. It was the water and how the sun was doing it. And then I needed to do some more pruning around it and not letting it run the way that I wanted, because right now in the summer months, in the fall and in the springtime when it's cooler, that's when it's going to grow quickly. That's when I kind of work through that process.
Right.
It's been amazing what has been happening to you. And you've seen me kind of working it, because I'm like thinking, and I've been doing it. It's been teaching me some lessons as I'm working through that process. Like, it's teaching me some leadership principles to say, this is a lot that goes on with life. And what you're doing is sometimes you are frustrated that you've built a good foundation, Asbel, here, whether it's at the company, whether it's in my personal, relational, corporate life, whatever I'm doing, governmental, all this other kind of stuff is, now you've got to start, do you have the water mixture right? Is the sun hitting the right point? Is it scorching certain things? Are you shedding too much light in one area where it should be something else?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of lessons to learn
so many
through
life
this
lessons.
process.
So many life lessons. So in reality, the quote, bloom where you're planted, while it sounds good, if you're not blooming where you're planted, you need to figure out why.
Well, the thing is, it's catchy.
It's catchy.
Neat.
It's a catchphrase.
It's neat. Oh, bloom where you're planted. And it also is a manipulative phrase for some people that you're in bad soil, and then you have narcissistic personalities that say, you should not leave here. Bloom where you're planted.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You're in rebellion.
Yeah, or whatever. We've heard all of this through life or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but the general premise of what they're talking about is correct.
It is correct.
The problem is there needs to be a lot more discovery than bloom where you're planted.
And discernment.
Because good people will use it and it's being used right. But you've got manipulative people, people that mean that for evil or for bad or for control.
Yeah.
That is not correct. So they'll try to commandeer you into it. And so you'll begin to doubt your ability.
Get
into the Word.
Yeah, get into the Word. Oh,
there's a reason why a lot of people don't want you to study for yourself. That's why Christ told people, study to show yourself. There's a reason why he cautioned you that.
Yeah.
If you do not have constant people in your life telling you, specifically if you're faith-based, that are telling you, I want you to study for you. Don't just take my word for it.
Right.
You get into that word and you study. We do it every single morning.
Right.
You and I wake up every single morning.
Oh, yeah.
And we spend an hour and a half to 2 hours and we are studying. We're reading. We're figuring out how to apply this. This doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
You don't get a revelation understanding, and there's going to be other people. Jesus gave you the exact commission, not to your pastor, not to your teacher, that they're there for a reason.
They're there for a
but
reason.
He told you, go study to show yourself approved, because that's the only way that you're going to know, do I have sound doctrine in my mind? Do I have, my parents taught us that from the day one. Son, there's one thing that nobody will ever take away from you.
Yeah.
Is what you learned and what you taught yourself in your brain.
Yeah.
They can never take away the knowledge. And the word, that's why they instilled it into us. We must know the word. So when somebody says something that's kind of like, that's not right what they're saying.
That's not
because
in the
I
word.
had hid the word in my heart.
Thy word have I hid in my heart.
Thy word have I hid in my heart, so I might not sin against you.
Right. Yep.
Against you.
And there's also the scripture, I think in the same Psalm 119, talks about the word as a lamp to my feet, light
and
to
a
my
light
path.
to my path.
And it's true, the word. And when you start really studying the word, you start seeing things differently, not like contradicting things, but it becomes alive in you. You're like, oh my word. I was talking to someone the other day. She's been studying and she said, I'm learning so much. I've been raised around this and I'm starting to feel this. I said, that's what happens when you start studying. Not just reading it. studying it,
for
sitting
yourself.
alone with it. I mean, it really is amazing. But that applies to what we're talking about, bloom where you're planted. Is the soil bad? Am I wrong in what I'm doing? Is something I'm doing? You reflecting.
Yeah.
Discerning. I mean, all of these things, but that comes with reading the Word of God.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that like bad soil can't be like in farming or whatever. Little that I know about it, sometimes you have to let the fields rest. They have to rest between a year, and that replenishes the nutrients.
Exactly.
So it's actually good soil, but it has to also rest. God taught us a lot through agriculture.
Yeah, it takes time.
He literally did in the Word. There's so much about farming, and about planting and the wheat and the tares and
in California in the country surrounded by corn, bell pepper, walnuts, almonds, cherries, everything. So I saw a lot take place, and the harvesting takes time. The sowing, the reaping. I mean, it all takes time. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. And so you got to cultivate, and that's what it's meant to do as well. What a great topic.
Yeah.
What a really good topic.
I thought this would be really good because we both have been through it, and I know people watching
that are watching and listening, we're always going to go through it. So
always.
You never arrive. You're constantly, I mean, the law of the harvest is always happening. And so you're going to go through seasons. You're going to go through seasons of reaping, and we love the reaping season when the fields are great and there's a lot coming in.
Flourishing.
But then guess what? Then you go back into the winter season where the ground sits still, and then you're back into the spring, and then you're in the summer, which gets kind of rough sometimes. It's hot. You're watering. You're making sure the sun's not hitting you. There's a lot going on there, and then you start the harvest again.
Yeah.
So life is a season.
Circle of life.
It's reflect.
Yes.
Understand, what are you teaching? What are you growing me through these seasons as we work through the process? So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. Have a blessed day.
All right.